I've been using this camera for a few months now and the quality from it is really good. Like, I'm really impressed with it. Plus, having the onboard audio for FPV is a unique bonus over the DJI O3A unit and the recently released O4A unit. That being said, what are the best settings for smooth, stable footage with the DJI Action 5 Pro? So in this video, I'm basically going to be testing out various scenarios. As you saw from the beginning, I suffered some weird wobble and jello and glitches from this camera. And I'll even show you how to create a custom profile on the DJI Action 5 Pro so you can save those settings. So next time you go to fly FPV, you just have to press one button and then you're good to go. Before we dive in, if you're new, hi, my name is Demetrius and I create videos on drones, photography and everything in between, and it's a mixture of entertaining and educational content. So if you're passionate about tech and want to join a community of like-minded people, then subscribe for future videos. Now, let's go flying. Now, the main reason I'm making this video is that some people suggest that setting the exposure by locking the shutter speed to double your frame rate. And while this is technically sound, I have found it often causes jello in the footage, which makes it unusable. It's neither cinematic nor fun to watch. Now, I did watch a few videos from Chris Luck Photo, Frank FPV and RC Wolf, and all of them have mentioned to turn off stabilization completely and use gyroflow. However, the footage that you saw in the beginning of the video was stabilized with gyroflow and I still got these wobble effects. So, was there an issue with this camera? Or was it something else? Was it my quad? Now, the quad I'm flying is the GEP-RC Mark V. This is an X-frame quad and it's designed for freestyle acrobatic maneuvers, more than cinematic shots, but you can do cinematic footage with this with smooth flying. Now, the main thing I'll be testing is the stabilization, and here are the various scenarios that we'll be looking at. Also, halfway through my testing, I changed one thing and this did help improve the wobble and jello effect I was getting with the Action 5 Pro. So I will let you know what happened with that change throughout this video. Also, what I kept at default was the image adjustments, and this is sharpness and noise reduction settings. Now, I have made a video on this with the DJI Air3S, and I assume these are going to be the same with the Action 5 Pro. So if you want to check out that video, check that out up here somewhere. I prefer flying these with default. However, this is down to personal preference. I just want to quickly just review some footage from the FPV Mind just so we can see what we're looking out here for problems. So this is the first clip and it's usually in the beginning. So as you can see, I'm just circling the tractor here. No issues. There you go. Wobble. There's another wobble. That was just super weird how that occurred. And if we just jump forward a little bit, there you go. Wobble there again. And this is using Rocksteady. So I don't understand what was happening here, why the camera was flipping out. Let's look at the next one. The next one was really bad. There you go, wobble. Look at all this. Look at this. This is unusable footage. It's really bad. It suffered terribly here. And then this is the last one. This is where I turned stabilization off. This is what you saw at the beginning of the video. So I literally just take off, looks fine. And if you look on the mountains in the distance, you see this wobble. So I don't understand what's going on. Even with gyroflow, it was suffering. So we take a look at the horizon here in the distance, you can see that wobble. Maybe it's me being picky, but this can't be right. And this is using gyroflow. And these were the settings that I was using. And I even selected the low pass filter and I still was suffering this. So let's go to my testing. Now the first one here was 4K 60 wide, no stabilization, but stabilized in gyroflow. And straight away you can see wobble. So that's not usable. Throughout the next set of series, Rocksteady 4K 60 was fine, 4K 120 was fine, and Rocksteady in sport stabilization. So the stabilization in the Action 5 Pro, there is daily and sport mode, but these are only available in the normal color profile. So if you're going to use DLOG-M, you don't have access to this. I think if you are going to be using this, maybe stick to the sport stabilization because it's supposed to be a little bit more for action stuff, more quick paced. If we move on, we use Rocksteady Plus. The thing to note here with Rocksteady Plus is that your field of view is a lot narrower, which I'm not a fan of. So I wouldn't use Rocksteady Plus. I would probably just stick to Rocksteady. Now this is in DLOG-M and this was 4K 60 with the auto exposure set to -3. And this was stabilized in gyroflow. And you can see straight away from the beginning here how much, look at that jello. It suffered so badly. But as soon as we go to Rocksteady, it was fine. No issues there. Now this was where my original theory was, where I thought the jello issue was tied to the stabilization, and it's partly true. So if you're using the 180-degree shutter rule and you're putting an FPV drone, the camera shutter is not fast enough and any of these micro vibrations will be found out. So if we carry on looking at this footage, you will see straight away it's wobbling a little bit. It's not perfect at all. And to me, the image just doesn't look right. If we move the timeline forward a bit, there you go. Look at the back of the mountain there. Just too much jello. So the next thing was to use quadruple the shutter speed, 1/1500. Let's have a look now. And this seems to solve the problem, because when I reviewed this footage earlier, there was no jello. It looks completely fine. So if you do want to use the shutter speed rule, it's better to go 4 times than it is the 180-degree shutter rule, and it will help remove these micro vibrations. It looks perfectly fine, this. Now I did try going 8 times the shutter speed. Again, the higher you increase the shutter speed, the better. You just have to use the appropriate ND filter. I did have to use the K&F ND filters for the Action 5 Pro, otherwise the image will be super exposed. So when you do hold up the camera to the light, once you've set your shutter speed, just put on the appropriate ND filter. So the higher the shutter speed, the lower the ND filter. So I was using between ND16 to ND8. Now I also tested the 180-degree shutter rule with gyroflow. However, I suffered jello. There you go, straight away glitch. And it just wasn't happy. And throughout all this time, the O3 Air unit was still completely fine with no issues. Now after all this testing, I was super frustrated because I wasn't getting anything consistent. We know that the shutter speed does affect jello, so going 4 times is better, and Rocksteady seems to be outperforming gyroflow, but I still wasn't satisfied. So later that evening, a thought came to my head, and I realized that the props I was using on the Gep RC Mark V were not the standard ones. These were like Gep RC's ones that I got free when I bought the quad. Now the standard ones are the GemFan props, which I thought, do you know what? Let me look at this. And the thing I noticed is that the Gep RC props were a lot more flexible compared to the GemFan ones. And after doing a quick research while asking ChatGPT, having stiffer props and props that aren't chipped and battered will make an impact on your footage. This doesn't answer the question why O3 was still doing fine, but I thought, you know what? Let me change the props and see if this would make a difference and if there was an improvement in reducing the jello that I was experiencing. So I charged up my batteries again and we did another round of testing. Now, since the prop change, I definitely noticed a difference and there was less micro vibrations. So Rocksteady still performed fine in 4K 60, 4K 120. Now, using the 180-degree shutter rule, this has actually looked much better. So when we're reviewing the footage here, using the 100-degree shutter rule, there is no micro jitters. Everything looks really good because of these stiffer props from GemFan. These were the stock props from the Gep RC. Haven't done any adjustments to the tuning whatsoever. Everything looks good here. However, as we come around the tree and we do a roll over the bush, notice as we apply throttle, there is very, very slight wobble in the distance. So changing the props has made a significant improvement in reducing this jello effect. Now you can mitigate this completely by using the 4 times the shutter speed, and that's what I've done. Had no issues here. However, when it came to using gyroflow and turning off stabilization, I did suffer jello. So as we can see in this scenario here, where I've marked the clips, as I start to punch up, this is gyroflow. Look how wobbly the horizon is. And that was with gyroflow turning stabilization off. I don't know what's going on. If you think I've done incorrect settings on gyroflow, let me know in the comments down below. But gyroflow shouldn't be like this. And I have resetted the settings completely and started from scratch. And I'm still getting this issue. All while being the O3 still doesn't suffer. And for shits and giggles, I thought, let's test out the DJI Action 2 here as well to see if that suffered at all. And do you know what? There was no issue with the DJI Action 2 when flying FPV. So this was shot in normal mode. And if we take a look at the footage, I don't see any wobbles. Be flying low, going straight. No wobbles. Looks like a lovely day as well. Look at those clouds. And do you know what? I still think the Action 2 holds up to its own. So if you still own this camera, I think you'll be fine. So that being said, what would be my ideal settings for flying FPV with the DJI Action 5 Pro? Now, I probably like to fly with 4K 120 because that way it will give me the option to slow my footage down by 4 times because I like to work off a 30 frames per second timeline. However, if you want to do 4K 60 and slow it down twice, that's fine too, and it will save you a little bit of space. I prefer shooting in the 4:3 format, so that's the one I'm going to be using. I'm also going to either pick auto exposure and underexposing this by -3 because these results worked fine for me. Or if I did want to lock in my shutter speed, I'll probably just use the 4x shutter rule, so 1/500 if I'm doing 4K 120. Now, as for gyroflow, I know this works because I was used it in the past with the DJI Avata 2. So I don't understand what the issue is with the DJI Action 5 Pro. So I think DJI actually need to do a firmware update because this probably does suffer from micro jitters or jello. If you've suffered this too, let me know in the comments down below. But these are the settings that I would use when flying with the Action 5 Pro because the audio is kind of nice. I like to hear the scream. Now, earlier I did say I was going to show you how you can save this preset to your DJI Action 5 Pro. So all you have to do is just click that and you'll be done. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you're in video mode. You want to swipe up and then select your resolution and format. So 4K 4:3 is my choice. I'm going to go to 4K 120. Then on the top right, I'm going to select the field of view and the stabilization. So rock steady and wide. Once you've set that, swipe back down. And on the right hand side, you see the settings icon. If you tap on this, and this will show you your adjustments. So I'm going to hit this to default because I don't want to do any image adjustments. Stabilization, if you are going to use auto, I would suggest putting this to sport. However, I'm going to keep mine on daily. And if I hit on pro, I want to make sure I'm in DLOG-M. And that straight away, it grays out the stabilization scenario. So I can't really do anything with that. As for exposure, here I can go to -3. As for ISO, I tend to keep mine on auto between 100 and 6400. If you are going to select your shutter speed, hit the manual button and then just select 1/500 or 4 times your frame rate. Now, if you want to save this preset, all you have to do is swipe down, click the person icon, and it says here, save current settings. So if you click on that, and then you can select an icon of your choice. I think this parachute guy resembles FPV the closest. Click confirm, and that's it. Now, as with the release of the DJI O4 Air unit, do we even need an action camera anymore? Considering how well the O3 did with the stabilization, O4 is going to be even better, and this is the exact same camera and system as the DJI Avata 2. Also, if you're considering buying this camera, then you won't want to miss this video next.